The rain poured mercilessly that night, washing away the footprints of a man who had just abandoned the woman who loved him most. Lying helplessly on the side of a lonely highway was a pregnant woman, weak, cold, and in pain. Her clothes were soaked, her hands trembling as she clutched her swollen belly, whispering to the tiny heartbeat inside her, "Hold on, baby, please." The world had turned its back on her. Her husband had thrown her out, calling her a burden, and drove away without a glance in the mirror. She had nowhere to go, no family left, no money, just the life growing inside her and a heart full of fear. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of good people still existing in this world, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us tell more stories that remind the world that humanity still lives among us. The woman's name was Emily. She was 8 months pregnant, once full of dreams and laughter, now barely hanging on to hope. Her husband, Mark, had promised her a forever, until he lost his job. The pressure turned him bitter, and soon his love disappeared into anger and resentment. He started blaming Emily for everything, their poverty, their struggles, even his failures. That night, after an ugly argument, he ordered her out of their old pickup truck in the middle of nowhere. When she pleaded with him, clutching her belly, he shouted, "You're nothing but dead weight," and drove away, leaving her to the darkness. Emily tried to walk, but her body gave up. Her legs trembled, her stomach cramped painfully, and she fell by the roadside. The cold wind cut through her wet clothes like knives. She screamed for help, but there was no one around, just the sound of distant thunder and the occasional roar of a passing truck that didn't stop. The world blurred around her as she whispered prayers through her tears. Hours passed. Her lips turned pale, her breaths shallow. She thought this was how her story would end. Cold, forgotten, and alone. But fate had other plans. Far down the road, the rumble of engines echoed through the night, deep, powerful, and unified. It was the sound of a motorcycle club returning from a charity ride. 100 bikers, dressed in black leather and tattoos, men who most people avoided, believing they were dangerous. But what people didn't know was that these men had hearts bigger than their engines. They called themselves the Iron Hearts Brotherhood, a group dedicated to helping those who couldn't help themselves. One of the riders, Jack Steele Donovan, noticed something on the side of the road. At first, he thought it was just debris, but then his headlight caught the faint movement, a hand barely lifting. "Stop!" he yelled, bringing his Harley to a screeching halt. The other riders followed, circling around as their headlights illuminated the heartbreaking sight of Emily lying there, barely conscious, soaked in rain and mud. Jack rushed to her side, removing his leather jacket and wrapping it around her trembling body. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" he asked gently. She blinked weakly, whispering something that broke his heart. "Please, my baby." Without wasting a second, Jack called out to the others. "We need to get her to a hospital. Now!" The bikers moved with precision. One called for an ambulance while others blocked the road, creating a safe space. One of them, a former nurse named Maggie, checked Emily's pulse and said, "She's in shock and could go into labor." They lifted her gently, placing her in their support van, and with their motorcycles forming a protective escort, they tore through the storm toward the nearest hospital. The roar of their engines was like thunder, announcing a miracle in motion. When they arrived at the hospital, the staff were startled to see 100 bikers crowding the entrance, their faces tense and soaked, their hearts pounding with worry. Jack carried Emily. Inside himself, refusing to leave her side. As doctors rushed her into emergency care, the bikers waited, some pacing, some praying, all silently hoping for a stranger's life. Hours felt like days. Finally, a doctor stepped out and smiled. "She and the baby are both alive." It was close, but she's strong, she made it. A collective sigh of relief spread through the group. Jack closed his eyes, whispering, "Thank God." When Emily woke up, she found herself in a clean hospital bed, warm blankets over her, and the soft beeping of monitors nearby. Around her stood men and women in leather jackets, strangers with kind eyes and worried faces. Jack stepped forward and said softly, "You're safe now. We found you on the road. You and your baby are going to be just fine." Tears streamed down Emily's face as she realized what had happened. She tried to speak but could only whisper, "Why? Why would you help me?" Jack smiled faintly. "Because once, someone helped me when I didn't deserve it. We don't leave people behind, ever." From that day, the bikers didn't just save her life, they became her family. They visited her every day, bringing her food, clothes, and even fixing her hospital bills. They took turns staying with her so she was never alone. The hospital staff started calling them the guardian angels on wheels. When Emily gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, she named him Hope, because that's what the bikers had given her. Hope when she had none left. The day she held her son for the first time, surrounded by her new biker family, the room filled with tears, laughter, and gratitude. The rough, tattooed men who once looked intimidating now stood quietly, some wiping their eyes as the tiny baby wrapped his fingers around Jack's leather-gloved thumb. But the story didn't end there. When the bikers learned that Emily's husband had abandoned her with no money, no home, and no support, they decided to do something extraordinary. Jack called for a meeting with the club. "We saved her life," he said, "but that's not enough. We're going to rebuild it." The Iron Hearts organized a charity ride. Not for fame, not for attention, but to give Emily and her baby a new start. Hundreds of bikers from across the state joined. They raised thousands of dollars, enough to buy her a small home and furnish it with everything she needed. When Emily saw the house for the first time, a cozy little place with a white fence and a baby room filled with toys, she broke down in tears. "I don't deserve this," she whispered, her voice trembling. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. "You deserve every bit of love this world can give. You've already been through hell. Now it's time to live." As months passed, Emily became part of their family. She cooked for them during gatherings. Her baby grew up surrounded by laughter and roaring bikes, and for the first time in years, she smiled again. The bikers often said that hope brought them together even closer, reminding them why they rode, not just for freedom, but for brotherhood, for compassion, for humanity. But one day, something unexpected happened. Emily's husband showed up at the biker clubhouse. He looked ashamed, broken, and desperate. He'd lost everything, his job, his home, and now wanted to see his wife and child again. The bikers were furious. Jack stepped forward, his voice steady but cold. "You left her to die. You don't deserve to even say her name." But Emily, standing behind Jack, stepped forward quietly. Her eyes were calm. "I forgive you," she said. "Not for you, but for me. I need to let go to move on." Mark lowered his head, tears falling down his face. He walked away, realizing he'd lost something far greater than he ever understood. That moment showed everyone there what true strength looked like. Emily, once broken and abandoned, now stood tall, her child in her arms, surrounded by 100 people who loved her more than she ever thought possible. Weeks later, the Iron Hearts hosted a massive charity event in Emily's honor, raising money for single mothers in crisis. Emily spoke on stage, her voice trembling but strong. "The night I was left for dead, I thought my story was over. But these men and women, these bikers, reminded me that angels don't always have wings. Sometimes they ride Harleys." The crowd erupted in applause, some crying, some smiling, all deeply moved. And from that day on, Emily dedicated her life to helping others like her, volunteering at shelters, supporting abused women, and always reminding everyone that no matter how dark life gets, kindness can still find you, even on a lonely highway in the rain. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel. Let's spread kindness and remind the world that good people still exist. Special request: comment below with the words "Kindness never dies" if you believe that compassion can change lives. Emily's story reminds us all. Sometimes, the family you find is stronger than the one you lose, and sometimes, hope arrives on two wheels, wearing black leather, with a heart made of gold.